Guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between podcast. I'm Renae Lipsmeyer. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on these videos. Thanks again for watching. Hey guys, this is Renae with the Space Between podcast. Today I am here with an episode called One Drink to Remember, 6 Samples to Forget. Now, what in the world do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to read one bit of lyrics and then I'm going to introduce my guest and see if you can figure out what the theme of this podcast today is about. If the ocean was whiskey and I was a duck, I'd swim to the bottom and never come up. Those are lyrics from a song called Ride Whiskey. And so again, today, one drink to remember, 6 samples to forget. Today, I have 3 guys that they love whiskey. And so they're 4 guys. Okay. Math is not my strong subject. We have 4 guys. I'm going to count him. If you're just listening to this on the podcast, this is going to be one that you're going to want to watch on YouTube. Number 1, I think it's going to get funny because this episode is going to contain lots of alcohol. And so as with that, sometimes things can get funny. So definitely be sure to tune in on YouTube. And also later in this episode, Ben is going to make us a drink and kind of walk us through that recipe. So again, if you're listening to this on the podcast, be sure to check us out later on YouTube. And so let's go ahead and introduce our 4 men who are guests today on the podcast. I'm going to let the one that counts first introduce himself first.
Hey, everybody. My name is Justin Lipsmeyer. I am Renae's husband. I'm the lucky guy that gets to help support her. And, she's got a dream. And I want to make sure that she realizes that dream is a big dream and that's something that she can do. And I think she's been doing a great job and hope everybody out there's enjoyed listening. But outside of that, I'm kind of a newbie when it comes to the Dave Matthews Band. My first show was in 2018, and I've been to about 10 shows. Can't wait to go on to a few more.
Thank you, Justin,
You're
for
welcome.
showing up. I know you drove so far to get here. Thank you.
The traffic was a bitch.
All right, Larry, introduce yourself. Now, Larry's been on the podcast before. Larry, thank you again for coming back to the Space Between. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from.
Oh, so Larry Smith from Wichita, Kansas, the big thriving metropolis of Wichita, Kansas. Got into Dave in 95. I think I said that last time. The wife kind of pulled me in, and we had it for our wedding song, saw him live, got hooked after that. So we have just recently started this last couple of years doing the multiple show deal. Before that, it was 1 or 2 shows a year, but I think we got in 8 last year, and we're going to do 14 this year, and we'll see what happens next year. So there we go. And today we're going to hopefully drink a little bit of decent whiskey. Oh,
That's a little
so
bit.
when we were thinking about doing this podcast, it was, like I said, me and Ben after West Palm Beach night 2, we brought out some Old Forester birthday bourbon. And so we just sit there and we sipped on that a little bit and talked about maybe doing an episode or something like this with some other, DMB people. And I thought, who could be better than our friend Tim, who organizes the Dave and Tim Whiskey Share down in Mexico. Well, here he is. So, Tim, I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, I'm Tim Paulin, Charlotte, North Carolina by way of Philadelphia, so go Eagles. My first album was actually Crash, and it was a tip from when I was caddying from a guy at a country club in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And ever since I put that in the CD player, I've been hooked. First show was in 1996 at Hershey Stadium, and I've just celebrated my 60th show at Night 2 in Charleston this year. Wife and I have been to Mexico 3 times. We're going on our 4th this year. And in my first time going down there, I was on the Mexico fans Facebook group. I'm involved in a bunch of different Dave groups, and asked, how do you bring good bourbon down? and one of my good friends, Mickey Horner, who I didn't know at the time, responded back and said, "Hey, I do this," because he went before, and we decided that we were going to bring bottles down and share with each other. So that was the first official whiskey share in 2020. It was just me and Mickey. The next year, I decided to get a couple of people involved, friends that I've met, and 2022 was an unofficial event. We had 11 people show up. And then talking with Amy, who's one of the organizers of that group, she came up and said, "Hey, you really should make this an event on the fan page." So I did. Last year we had over 85 people sign up. We did it over 2 days, and looking forward to our third official, fourth unofficial year of doing the Whiskey Share. And what's cool is we have a thriving online messenger group as well that still is active every day. People are always chatting on there, and I believe that they're actually planning a Whiskey Share at the Gorge this year, right, Larry?
Well, you know what? I've been trying to find that, but I haven't been able to find that yet.
I think Brian and Michael, there are a couple on there, but unfortunately I will not be at the Gorge this year. My wife and I went last year, but there's only so many once-in-a-lifetime experiences you can have. But I think we can pass the torch. Larry, you should take up the handle on organizing that one.
No.
I am Ben Parker. I have been going to the conference since 2010, actually. So I'm a little bit of the noob on this one. This year's West Palm Beach concerts was number 35 and 36 for me. So I thought that was pretty respectable since I've only been a fan since 2010, really. But yeah, whenever I actually met Larry last year at the Night Zero meetup, at the second Night Zero meetup, actually, down in West Palm Beach, and we had just really hit it off and everything too. We were doing shots at the bar and just having a great time, and then and then we saw each other in Deer Creek and everything, and then we had the idea of, I've got some birthday bourbon at home that I would love to share with you in West Palm. And so I brought it with me to West Palm, and we got to share a nice little pour, and I just had a great time at West Palm, and the rest is history there. It's like it's like a long-lasting friendship now. He's never going to get rid of me, no matter how hard he tries. So,
as long as you keep bringing the whiskey, you're good.
There we go. I can do that. So.
Well, guys, thank you so much for all being willing to be on the show today. Again, 1 drink to remember, 6 samples to forget. So, Larry, walk us through why we named it 1 drink to remember, 6 samples to forget.
Well, we were going to do this another day, and then the bright idea hit me of, hey, why don't we do this, and we do it with some out of this world, or what they call unicorns, for whiskey drinkers. So I figured I could do the BTAC series, which is 5 of the hardest to find, of the most hard to find alcohol, and then I figured, hey, why not throw a Pappy 10 in there too, because that would also be something that's a little bit difficult to find. I've been fortunate enough to be able to acquire and get some of this stuff by whatever means necessary, and I like to share. I like everybody else to enjoy it and have a good time too. So then we said, okay, well, I need to get those samples out to everybody. So we got 6 samples out, and I'm glad they all came unscathed, and we're ready. We're ready to give it a try.
Yeah, if you want to grab the bottle.
Yeah.
So we're going to go proof. So typically when you want to do a tasting, the best way to do a tasting would be lowest proof to highest proof, because you don't want to start on a high proof, blow your palate out, and not be able to experience anything on the lower end of the spectrum. So with the amazing 6 whiskeys that Larry brought us, the first one we're going to try is the Sazerac 18. That comes in at 90 proof. And again, these are all BTAC. So BTAC stands for the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. They're all going to be very unique bottles, very limited bottle runs, anywhere from 2,000 total bottles across the country shared, up to about 10,000. So when you think about it, that's a very, very small sample size. If you find one, it's a winner. Perfect example. I've been collecting whiskey and hunting whiskey, for the past 8 years. I've been lucky enough to get my hands on 2 BTAC, let alone the entire line that Larry's going to be sharing with us today. But the second one in the list is going to be Eagle Rare, and that comes in is that still at 101 or is that at 100?
This is the 101, and this
the
is
101. Okay.
The Eagle Rare 17-year, not your
17-year-old,
Eagle
correct?
Rare. Yeah.
Yeah. So standard Eagle Rare is going to be it's technically not a single barrel, but the reason it's not a single barrel is because there's a little bit of when they change out the barrels, they don't completely clear the line, so there may be a little bit of drip or bleed through. But essentially, it used to always have the single barrel name attached to it as well, and it's a 10-year bourbon. So this one being a 17-year bourbon, it gives it that extra time to mature in the oak. It's going to be a much more complex bourbon when you taste it. The next one would be the Old Rip Van Winkle 10-year, and then it's going to be the entry bottle into the Pappy series. Everybody that has any sort of basic bourbon knowledge knows about Pappy Van Winkle. It's the one that everybody screams about. That one, is that 107, the proof on the Pappy Van Winkle?
Yes, that's a 107.
Yeah. So we're moving up in proof now into some higher ones. Next is going to be the George T. Stag. Stag is typically going to be your higher bourbon, and it's funny because Larry actually has the one that I had. That I won in a lottery, which was the 2019. It's one of the lower entry proofs that George T. Stagg's ever come in at 116.9. Typically, they're high 120s into the 130s, and even some that they call hazmat, which would be 140 proof. But this one is a fantastic expression. Next one is the 2020 William LaRue Weller.
I was trying to see what the other one I had. So, Tim.
Oh, the GTS?
Yeah, I have a 129.2. I'll send you a sample of that one.
I'm not going to say no.
Since you already have this other one.
Just Tim? Just Tim?
We need to do episode 2 next week.
And 3 and 4 and 5. Let's just keep this weekly. I'm liking this.
So the next one will be the William LaRue Weller, and that's going to be the flagship of the Weller line, which is a very prominent line that Buffalo Trace puts out. It's very coveted. This one is, like Larry said, a unicorn. That's coming at 124.5. And then our final bottle that we're going to finish with is a Thomas H. Handy. What's that?
Except for what Justin has and what I have, because I killed a bottle doing the samples, so I had to open another bottle. And so this one is 128.2.
Okay.
So we got a little bit different proof there, but it's still all right.
Okay. Well, that'll actually be very cool because we'll be able to maybe pick up different flavors as Justin talked in our chat earlier today. All of us will be picking out noses, and he's like, "I'm just going to get drunk." But the final one, Thomas H. Handy, is actually a 6-year rye. It's so when everyone calls Sazerac Baby Saz, it's because of the 18-year, but Thomas H. Handy is the same age as the Sazerac, but it's a higher proof. It's going to be non-chill filter. That one's going to come in at 129.5. So that'll be actually the highest proof that we're going to finish off.
And just on all of these, with these last 3 that have the different proofs or the higher proofs, they always come in at a different proof, right?
Mm-hmm. Your Saz is always going to be 90. Eagle Rare is always going to be 101. Old Rip will be 114. And then the other ones will be based on the barrel that they're pulling it from. So those are all single barrel expressions or multiple barrel expressions that they pull that from.
Yeah, so that one was a 129, right? And the other one...
Yeah, 129.5.
I have another one. It's a 127.2, but I don't have that one open yet, so it'll be for another day.
Just bring that one to Mexico. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll bring one of these to Mexico. You know?
I love that.
So
do we want to crack into the first one, the Sazerac 18, and kind of chit chat?
Yep. Let's give it
thought you
a
did
try.
great.
Yeah, actually, hey, so really quickly, so just so we know, what kind of tones are we supposed to be picking up on here?
I have no idea. I've never tasted this.
Well,
I think this is going to be just an exploration together.
Yeah. So this is a rye whiskey. So,
Yep.
Dude, I think I poured too much there.
Oh, shame on you.
Well, I mean, I want to be able to drink it before we get to the other one, but I mean, I poured like an ounce in this thing.
Whew. Larry, you're going to be done.
I know. That's what I'm gonna pour out half of this thing so I can put it back in.
I like a little ice in mine because I don't like it neat. So I'm a wussy as far as that's concerned.
You're not a
Hey.
wussy. Drink it the way you like it. There's nothing wrong with that.
I like it chilled.
And so, especially when you get to the higher proofs, I typically like them over a ball, or maybe 1 cube of ice in there as well. Because you get to some of that stuff, you're starting to get to 120, 130 proof. It can get a little brutal.
That's a nice little light notes there. Not heavy, it's not like a thick.
No, it's got an oily texture to it too. It's got, you can tell it's definitely an aged bourbon.
So as these guys are trying this, you're trying a rye. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, This is a rye.
Yes. Okay. So I think that's a perfect time to read a few more lines from rye whiskey. So rye whiskey, I cry. If I don't get my whiskey, I will surely what?
Die.
I will surely die, right? I'm as drunk as the devil, so leave me alone. That's what you will be at the end of this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, rye whiskey is always a fan favorite,
great
right?
song.
I think that
it really is.
I want to say that we got it
In Denver.
Oh, was it in Denver?
We got it in Denver.
Okay, so Denver, that would have been 2021.
2021.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did he open with rye whiskey or did he
On
close?
he opened the closer with rye whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was his solo.
It was such a surprise at the time. I don't think now it's such a big surprise, but at the time it really was kind of like, wow, he's playing rye whiskey.
It was great.
Yeah.
I'd never heard it.
Yeah.
So Tim, what are you getting off of this? I'm getting a little, maybe like fruit, green apple, maybe on the front. Kind of.
I didn't get any green apple. I got a lot of leather, molasses, and a bit of that like eucalyptus that's very typical in rye, but it's kind of on the mid palate, and then the back end is just peppery in the best possible way. It's got a nice long finish to it,
and it's a little oaky. Right?
No, 100%. Yeah. I mean, well, with the 18 year, the oak is always going to show up, but it's not overpowering, because there's a lot of times you get those 15-year plus bourbons, and it's just like licking a board. And like, perfect example.
That's how I feel about this one right there.
Really, the double oak? That thing that is chocolate cherry all day long. It's like eating a cherry cordial for me.
I feel like it's licking wood, like, or just a real, like a charred piece of wood. I love it. Don't get me wrong, but that's how. That's my baby palate.
Yeah, Ben, what'd you get, man?
So I got a lot of licorice. That's what I got out of it and stuff too. I got a lot of licorice flavor out of it and stuff too. Definitely some spice, like right at the very beginning too. But yeah, like it went spice straight licorice for me and stuff. So I mean, very good and stuff like that. Good flavor and everything too. Not really fiery, but then again too, like the first sip I switched around to kill all the nerve endings too for me. So, but yeah, so that's what I got on it.
And it is a reminder. This is just a 90 proof, so it's a little low end as far as proof wise, and you'll start getting once you get up to that higher proof, some of that stuff will start kicking up a bit.
Very oily too. Like it reminded me of those dusties, like the old wild turkeys, and the perfect example, like that old granddad that I have from 1967 that we were talking about earlier today. It's got that similar kind of like oily, leathery, just like you're walking into an antique store kind of flavor to it.
Or an old barber shop.
Yeah, they're perfect.
Okay.
So are we moving on to number 2?
Yeah, is everybody done there?
Yeah, just cleansing my palate with some water. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do. But.
Absolutely. Yep. Hydrate.
I do the same.
Okay. Moving on to Eagle Rare 17. Again, this is going to be 101 proof.
Now, I can tell you, and I don't know why, but the Eagle Rare 17 was the toughest bottle for me to come by.
So the Eagle Rare and the Sazerac typically have the lowest bottle yields because of their years. You got to think the GTS and the Weller usually end up between 12 and 15 year. The Handies are 6-year barrels. And then your Saz is 18 and your Eagle Rare is 17. So you guys know about the Angel Share, right?
Heard of the Angel Share.
Heard of the Angel Share? So essentially what happens... What's that, Justin?
Thanks to the Jim Beam commercials, the Devil's Cut commercial.
The Devil's Cut and the Angel Share. So essentially so what happens is as a barrel ages, or as the liquid ages in a barrel, evaporation happens. So over time, you lose the volume of that barrel. And, on a 4-year, you may, lose a very small percentage. But when you get down to the 17, 18, in all honesty, a full-size barrel maybe has about 12% to 15% of its liquid left because it's all evaporated out. So that's why you get such smaller yields on those 17 and 18-year bourbons and things like that. There's just not nearly as much liquid that's left.
Gotcha.
Okay. So has everybody got their Eagle 17 poured?
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
that smells so sweet right on the nose. Like just taking a sniff of it, it's just like.
I honestly, so I smell Krispy Kreme donuts. Legitimately Krispy Kreme donuts. And Justin, since you are new, a good trick is when you're nosing, open your mouth. Especially if you're nosing a whiskey and your mouth is closed and you get smacked by all of the ethanol, it just smells like burning. Open your mouth and breathe through your nose. And what happens is with your mouth open, it dissipates the ethanol. So you don't get that sharp ethanol burn on the nose. It all dissipates out the mouth, and you can start picking up the different scents that are in the bourbon itself.
Good to know. Thank you for that tip.
Yeah. Now I want to watch him and go, okay.
You want to smell?
Nope, do it right.
You want to take it away?
No, I'm good.
You're the podcast.
Renae, you should join in.
I'm the host. The most.
You can at least
Larry, I just want to become your neighbor and just drink this with you all day long. My goodness. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is incredible.
So fucking good.
I mean, Eagle Rare typically carries a grapey note to it, and this is like grapes on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. That's really good.
It's heavy.
That's really good.
It's got a good fruit, heavy fruit,
Yeah.
And it's, like I said, it was my hardest one to find. And unfortunately, it's the only one that right now I don't have a backup of. So
You poor thing.
But I have plenty of regular Eagle Rare, so hey.
That's not a bad
There's
thing
that.
to have either.
Yeah. It's, again, I'm fortunate enough because I have friends and I have colleagues that work all over the country and that live over the country. And so a lot of them understand what I'm passionate about. And so they actually hunt for me. And so
That's
I'll
awesome.
get a text from somebody, like a buddy of mine is in California. He lives in California. So last week he walks into the grocery store and they have Eagle Rare on sale for $35 a bottle. Right? In some places you can't even find it. So today in the mail,
Seen a bottle.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he grabbed a bunch, and I got 7 of them in the mail today.
Nice.
Oh,
You know,
that's a great friend.
It's interesting though, because one thing we talked about earlier was like the similarities between the DMB community and the whiskey community, and like that's a shining example right there. Because perfect example, West Palm Beach, night one. Renae, I think you ended up having Darren on the show, correct? For the recap,
Yes.
Darren Baldwin. So my wife and I are huge Kwok fans, as you can see. We love Ben Kwok. It's our favorite artist on the poster side. And Ben did the Dreaming Tree. I don't know if you guys saw that poster or not. And I was like, we have to have that. So I throw out in our Mexico friends group, I was like, hey, anybody down in West Palm Beach, can you grab a poster for me? Darren was like, absolutely. And it's similar to what Larry's saying here. And what's incredible with Darren, I'm going to give him a shout out on the podcast. He ended up not only getting us a poster, he got us a foil,
Awesome.
and that one is one of it's quickly becoming one of the holy grail posters within the DMB community. So it's going to have an amazing spot on our wall. But even the Grail seekers, so to speak, has a similarity to the whiskey community. You have the people that are always searching for the famous Sperry print or the Burgesstown Gold print where they're pouring the Fire Dancer with the steel workers and everything like that. It's a similar thing with your unicorn hunters. Larry's a unicorn hunter. He goes after the good stuff, or people that are searching for dusties and things. And so there's the generosity within the community, very much a pay it forward, sort of mentality that's shared between D&B and shared between the whiskey community. Perfect example, again, Larry sharing all these amazing whiskeys with us, or, friends. I've known plenty of friends, Christine Collier giving away tickets, online because she had extras. It's such a cool, trying to think of the right word there. I guess I'm having a little bit of bourbon here. The similarity is it's nice to be a part of, right? It's nice to be a part of both of those communities. And then the last one I would say would be, or actually the other two, when I was thinking about this earlier today, would be single barrel hunters. So one of the things in the whiskey community is single barrels. And you can have, like Elijah Craig. Everyone knows Elijah Craig, or everyone knows Buffalo Trace. Well, there's also single barrels of each of those bourbons as well. And you'll get people that are very passionate about a certain type of bottle. Like, I absolutely love this type of whiskey, but I get single barrels, and I'll have 30 different single barrels of the exact same whiskey, but they're all a little bit different. And I like to consider those people the exact same people in the pin collectors, because they'll have 15 of the same Steinman, but it's a different variant of each one. And, so there's a similarity there too. There you go. Exactly. Yeah. The private barrels for Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. I actually have 3 of those, and they're all different. They're all different single barrels at home. And then the last one I would say is the glaring obvious would be the pit lines and people standing in line for lotteries on the bourbon side. So there's just the mirrors between the two communities are wild.
The lottery, that's a good one there, the lottery.
Right?
On the so say for instance, I've never been in a line for like allocation when a liquor store or whatever does an allocation on a day, a
Mhm.
week, or a day, a month. I've heard of people lining up. I've never been there
Guilty.
myself, but I'm assuming they don't do random bands with random numbers drawn to see who goes first. It's actually
Oh
first
yes.
in line, probably.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, so all right. So North Carolina, where I'm from, we do random draw.
Okay.
So you get there, let's say they're going to start drawing numbers at 9 o'clock. You get there anytime between 8 and 6 a.m. and 9, whatever they start, and they'll give you a raffle ticket, and then they just start drawing numbers. So, but I've also been to some store openings where it's first come first serve. So
Gotcha.
North Carolina is interesting because it's a control state. So everything that I get is at MSRP. There's no markup. There's no secondary markup. Nothing like that. But the problem is trying to find the stuff that Larry's sharing with us today. Pretty much impossible because you have the entire
Gotcha.
state of North Carolina may get 10 cases of one of these bottles. So that's 120 bottles for the entire state. And there's 100
Right.
counties in North Carolina. So that basically means one county gets one bottle. And then they have these lotteries. So it makes it very difficult to find. But again, the amazing part, similar to DMB, is just that generosity. You find friends, you share with your friends. The sampling is very actually similar to the live shows way back in the day,
Yeah.
where everyone was recording their tapes. There's these little sample bottles. I don't know how many I have, but I have so many, and I've given so many out. You buy them in like caseloads, and
Yep.
just send them all across the country. They're all essential oils. It's not because we're not bootlegging and shipping whiskey. It's essential
No,
oils.
that's right.
But
Very essential to this podcast. Though.
Yes.
exactly. Yes. This is delicious essential oil, by the way. I gotta say.
Yeah.
But the communities are really similar.
Mhm.
But the lottery thing is, I always find that funny because in Kansas we're not a control state. So when
Mhm.
stores get them, they normally hold them, right? And so they hold them until sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they do this, and they do like each store will do its own little thing. So they'll have like 50 or 100 of these allocated bottles, and some of them do get in line, and so you're first in, you whatever. There's a store here in Wichita that they do it the day after Thanksgiving, right? So people
Mhm.
start lining up at 3 o'clock on Thanksgiving afternoon, spend the night, all night in the freezing cold, so that they can get an allocated bottle the next day. There's another store that it's just random, right? They have all these bottles and they have a bucket in front of each bottle. Well, you can drop your name in each one of those buckets, and then they just draw it, and whoever gets lucky enough can do it, can get one. Um, I have a friend in Alabama where you have to enter the lottery and you have to be an Alabama resident, right? So you have to register online with your driver's license or ID, and you send it. And this is kind of like getting early entry to Dave. So then they send out an email that says, "Hey, you're at every store. There's 50 spots, and the store that's in your area, you are number 7 in line." So then you get to be number 7 in line, and so you get to walk in and pick one off of each table. So that's kind of like the early entry in
Wow.
Dave, yeah.
Hmm.
And so if they only have one bottle of SAS 18 on table number 1, but they may have a stag and this, that, and the other. So you get to pick one off of table 1, one off of table 2, one off of table 3, and it just goes in how scarce they are for each one. So
Mhm.
all the states are different in how you come across these. Again, I'm lucky enough and fortunate enough that I've a little network out there that's willing to help.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that is just like the Damon community. Again, I think the same thing. This is one of the drawing factors of behind the music, right? The music is the first thing that drew me to, of course, the band. But then what keeps me going, I feel like, I feel like a seasoned fan that's been super lucky and blessed and all the things to get to hear the things that I've heard and the amount of shows I've been to. And I'm a baby fan. Like I don't even have 60 shows yet. But, the community is what keeps you coming back for more, or at least it is for me. Just, not only are they like-minded people, but they really are, for the most part, genuinely just kind people that really want to make sure that the world is a better place, and their kindness really does come through on every level. So yes, I can see the likeness between those two, but I'm so thankful for the Dave Matthews Band community. And I know that babier fans than me are getting to know the community, right? And
You got to keep growing your numbers, right? So there's going to be baby fans at every show.
Right. There's always going to be new fans. Even when the band is done touring, right, and they retire, there will always be new fans because we always have the music, right? Forever and ever we have the music. So there will always be a new tribe of baby fans. So you were only in that section for now. You're moving on up. So we are going into our third bottle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What's number 3?
So number 3 is going to be the old Rip Van Winkle. So this is going to be the entry to the Pappy line. And again, 107 proof.
Right.
So this is our we're starting to get into that higher range. And it's interesting because I've never tried this one, but out of all of the Pappy bottles, this is easily the most divisive, I would say, because you have people that love it, and then you have people that just don't feel like it lives up to the hype. And there's always the Weller 107, because it's the same proof. The Weller 107 is of a similar mash bill to the Pappy, so people are like, I like the 107 better, this, that, and the other. So it'll be interesting. Me being a huge fan of Weller 107, that's actually probably my favorite bottle, to see how it stacks up.
So it is like the Pappy is kind of divisive on stuff because I like the 10. I've always liked the 10. I really like the 12, which is termed Lot B, and 15 may be my absolute favorite, right? And then when you get up to a little bit higher, like the 23 to me, while it's good, man, it's like that's like licking wood sometimes. It's really, really, really strong.
So I get the similar note I get on the Weller 107, and it's a phrase that I've always loved. It reminds me of boozy raspberries. Like it's that strong red fruit flavor to it, but it's almost like it's just drenched in booze. It's so
I
good.
actually finally get a cinnamony type, like right off the bat, just like that fire, that cinnamon fire right off the bat. Not like a
like a red hot, not necessarily like a cinnamon on top of a pancake.
Either one, I don't know.
Okay. Well, because think about it. I mean,
there's like raw cinnamon, and then there's that sweet cinnamon. Like that's what he's saying.
Yeah, like that
red hot cinnamon or that.
I got you. I got you. Let me take another sip. I'll tell you.
One moment.
Yeah.
Sweet cinnamon for sure.
Okay.
I'm getting more like a caramelly taste off the bat with it and stuff too. So that's what I'm getting off of it. And I don't know about anybody else.
Yep.
This is the beauty of whiskey, because we have 4 different people sampling the exact same thing, pulling 4 different notes. And it just goes to show, like, there's so much complexity to whiskey, and it's a very personal experience. There's no wrong answer. Whatever you are tasting and whatever you're experiencing is real. It's what is happening. It's an individual experience. So it's another reason why I love whiskey.
It's another tie-in to the Dave Matthews Band and the music, because there's a lot of different songs out there, and a lot of people view songs a certain way or feel certain things when they hear certain songs, and I've been a part of several conversations where, one person doesn't care for a particular song and the other person, it's their favorite song. And so I see the tie-in here in that particular description you gave.
Funny the way it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to paraphrase, funny the way it is.
That's almost a direct quote out of there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's getting a heartbreak and somebody's favorite song.
That's right.
Or it could be somebody's bathroom song becomes somebody's favorite song.
Well, unless they pull a fake again. They've been pulling some fakes
I know.
lately.
Everyone's scared to go to the bathroom now.
So the interesting question, what is everyone's favorite Dave song and why, as we're sipping this one?
Ooh.
That question.
Right?
I'm going to steal from my wife because I've heard her say this, and I do think it's relevant for most. But her, she says as she's gone to more concerts and as the months and years progress, and new album just came out. And albums come out throughout the years, that can change. That answer changes, I think, over time. Right now, for me, for whatever weird reason, my absolute favorite song that I love to listen to currently is the Dave and Tim version of Bartender from Radio Music City Hall. I don't know why, but I love the intro to that song, and I love the passion that you can hear in his voice when he sings, and even some of the screaming and the pleading, just the way he delivers every line just gives me goosebumps. It's incredible. So that would be my answer.
That's awesome.
That was a good answer.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Can I go next?
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I feel like I'm in like the redheaded stepchild over here. I've been very, very quiet because I got too much freaking background noise.
Here's a lesson. Here's a lesson in knowing your environment before you go into it next time.
Yeah. The thing is that this is actually a really cool environment. I mean, like, this is the place where I love to hang out at, and they got it's called the Joinery. It's actually a food hall, but it's also a full bar. And I mean, like, this place is just amazing and stuff like that. And plus, too, I mean, like, I've got the brewing right behind me and stuff too. They've got like brews from all over Florida. It's just a really cool place to be. But anyways, I would say, like, before the new album came out, I had two songs that were just really hit me, and that was Big Eyed Fish and Squirm. And then Squirm, there's a line in there where basically he says that welcome to the show, and we can actually begin and stuff like that. But it's like naked and to see that we are all the same. And that's just the thing. It's just like, I mean, like, when you strip us all down and stuff like that, where it's just like, I mean, like, we're all the same people. I mean, period and stuff. I mean, like, because it's just like, I mean, like, we all put our pants on the same exact way, one leg at a time. I mean, and I just love that. So, what's that?
I said I'd jump into him. But
you jump into him. Well, you gotta be. I'm gonna try that in the morning now.
Right? Larry, what you got?
Is it weird for me to say, please record it? Like, we want to watch you do it. Like, jump in and just
Right.
No, that's a complete fabrication. I do not jump into my pants every day.
Yeah.
I think I lost my head open. I tried that.
So mine varies. It depends on, the day, the week, the month, or whatever. Again, Love or Lay Down is probably at the top. That's what we use for our wedding song, and that's what, brings out a lot of emotion and all that. So I think that's awesome. And then the next would be Somewhere. It goes back and forth if it's Crush or 41. And I know that's, kind of whatever, blasé, typical, or whatever. But I can tell you right now that the song I am enjoying the most, Break Free. Because that first line, fucking awesome. She gives a wicked ride. I look at my wife all the time. And it's like, yeah, that is sexy as fuck. So, hey,
You just made my wife's heart happy with that right there.
I have that tattooed on my arm. Like, I love that
Nice.
song. It's so good every time. Although, like, my preference with that song is I am so happy that it's finally landed on an album and that it has like its place. However, I love everything about it. I love how, you know, Buddy's included on it and the way that the song kind of changed because of its now current like band members that are in it. However, is it okay to, yes, it is okay. This is my personal feelings. I love the sound of it earlier, like when we were first hearing it, that, you know, was live but never on a record. Like something about the way it felt was just very different. And so I like that song live versus recorded. It's just better. I think I could say that across the board for most songs, but yes, that is forever going to be my anthem. I think it's such a strong like song for women empowerment, and like with Barbie coming out, if you haven't seen it, shout out to Barbie. It was such a fucking amazing movie about women empowerment. So I think that way with Break Free too. Like even though a guy is singing it, like the way he describes her in that song and the powers she has, even if it's sexual powers, that's a fucking power. So I love that song. So yes, I'm gonna agree with you, Larry.
there you go.
Nice.
Then Tim, what you got, man?
So mine is interesting. It's You Never Know. It will always and forever be You Never Know. If you are next to me at a concert and they're playing You Never Know, I am going to be a sack of tears the entire time. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. That song is very emotional to me. I struggle with mortality as I get older, and it's just such a beautiful song. And the whole line of, you know, the moon chasing or follow me in the car, and, you know, there's nobody but you see, hey, the moon is chasing me. It's a distinct memory I have as a child on trips, you know, sitting in the back seat of the car on the way back home from Nana and Grampy's. It's a 90-minute drive from South Jersey to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and just watching the moon just follow. And I always thought that this is way before, you know, as a kid, before Dave was even playing. So there's a lot of sentimental value to it. But yeah, whenever that song comes on, if you're around me, I'm going to be unabashedly in tears the entire way.
That's all right, and that's all right.
Yep.
It's okay.
Oh, I have no problem doing it.
I'll give you some tissues if I got it, or a shoulder to cry on if you need.
Don't even need them. I just let the breeze dry it away. It don't matter. We just get to happy singing the next song.
They just roll down into that sexy ass beard and just, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. It just glistens. It just glistens.
Good electrolytes for later.
Right.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to part 1 of One Drink to Remember, 6 Samples to Forget. In part 1, we were able to cover the Sazerac 18-year rye, the Eagle Rare 17-year bourbon, the Pappy's Old Rip Van Winkle 10-year bourbon, and next week on part 2, we will cover the George T. Stagg bourbon, the William LaRue Weller, and the Thomas H. Handy 6-year rye. And again, this is all part of the BTAC, which is the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. And we are going to tie all of these whiskeys to Dave Matthews Band lyrics. So stay tuned for part 2 next week. Peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.